Hello, One Nulls, maybe Doc Stone, Chapter 230, Human. And for the first time in quite a few weeks, I was right! Huzzah! As it turns out, the Y-Men do consider humanity just to be so overwhelmingly stupid. Yay? Yeah, apparently the Y-Men weren't actually trying to petrify all of humanity for several thousand years. They assumed that because we made it to the moon, we'd reached a certain level of intelligence and would be able to break free from the stone far more quickly. They were wrong. They were really, really wrong. Though this does have some rather interesting implications. I mean, let's assume that the other species the Y-Men have encountered before could break free from the Medusas in, let's say, 3 years. That would mean that humanity is literally 1,000 times stupider than those other species. Actually, more than 1,000 times, because the only two people on Earth who managed to wake up were Senku and Zeno, the two smartest men on the planet. And what's more, they were in the right environment. The soil that they were submerged in was filled with nitric acid, and as a result, they woke up far more quickly. So, yeah, humanity is dumb. Humanity is really overwhelmingly dumb. And yet, we still made it to the goddamn moon. We made it to the moon even though we are 1,000 times stupider than any other species that has made it to their own moon. That is impressive. That is really freaking impressive. I mean, the first time we went to the moon was just, kind of because we wanted to rub it into the face of the Russians. And then the second time, Senku went to the moon because he just really wanted to go to the freaking moon. I mean, he has to get this whole argument, oh, we need to get to the moon to stop the Medusa, to stop the Y-Man. But, I mean, the Y-Man, at least before this arc, at least before, it self-activated inside the vacuum, was never really all that much of a threat to humanity. They hadn't really done anything for quite a while. I mean, their big move, besides, dropping all the Medusas on Treasure Island, was just saying the same thing in the radio over and over again, the 1 million kilometers thing, trying to petrify the entire planet. That wasn't really, it was threatening, yes, but it wasn't really threatening anybody. In fact, Senku even used that to save all their lives when Stanley was trying to murder all of them. So, yeah, the Y-Man wasn't that big of a threat as far as they could tell. They had no real proof that the Y-Man was a real threat, and it was more that Senku just really, really wanted to go to the moon. So it is our greed and our tenacity that's allowed us to, soar to these heights, that's allowed us to make to the moon, even though we're so dumb on a, galactic level. And that makes me proud. That makes me really, really proud to be a human. We are not the smartest species in the world by a long shot. Senku even says in this chapter that he has no freaking clue how they're floating, how they're defying gravity like this. And yet Senku made it to the moon in like 2 decades. In, I think, less than 20 years, he went from the Stone Age to the Rocket Age through sheer grit, tenacity, willpower, and cooperation, just by following the steps of science. I mean, that has been a major theme in this series since the very beginning. Science isn't this, ancient secret language that only the true elites can master and use. Science is something anyone can use. Anyone can learn the steps and apply it to their daily lives. In fact, this chapter, we even saw a flashback of Suka. When she was first unpetrified, she had to find a way to not only make nitric acid, but also survive in the middle of the freaking Amazon as a mostly blind little girl. But she did it. She survived, and while she is certainly clever, I would definitely not call her a genius, but she applied the steps of science that she learned from Senku, and as a result, she managed to prosper, she managed to survive, she managed to wake everyone else up, she saved the entire freaking world! Huzzah! Oh, I love that girl, I freaking love that girl. Anyway though, backstory of this chapter, it's revealed the Y-Men just really, really don't want to die. And if they land on Earth where they're exposed to oxygen, they'll rust, they'll corrode, they will essentially die. And they really want to keep that from happening, so the plan is basically to show humanity the power of Medusa, and everyone's gonna be so amazed, so wowed by it. They'll be like, alright, Medusa, let's help you, let's replace your batteries, let's do all the maintenance repairs we need to do on you to make sure that you can keep petrifying us over and over again, to allow us to survive indefinitely, to allow us to be immortal. Which is, not a terribly bad plan. It works. I'm sure it's worked before, though this does raise interesting questions. Someone actually mentioned this in the comments on my last video. Parasites, they feed off the host until the host can no longer support them, and only then do they move on. So if the Y-Men have actually done this before, why aren't they still there? Why aren't they still on that planet? And there are definitely some possibilities here. I mean, I think the first one, the big one, is that the existence of the Medusas basically triggered a massive civil war that completely wiped out every other planet they were on, which, yeah, I could see it happening. I could definitely see that happening. We saw it back on Treasure Island. The second possibility, though, is that the Medusa is less like a parasite and more like a virus. It infiltrates the planet and basically has the people on that planet, the resources of the planet, be devoted to making more of it, to making copies, to making more of the Medusas. And then once it has enough, it spreads its copies throughout the entire universe. Now it's trying to basically infect the Earth and start the whole process all over again. Though it is going very, very badly for them. I almost have to feel bad for them, honestly. They are just so confused. They are so utterly, utterly confused. And like I said before, they were definitely not expecting humanity to be petrified for as long as they were. I mean, I said before that other spacefaring species were able to break free from the stone in 3 years. I mean, that was basically just to make a good comparison to 3,000 years of humanity, but also, I can't really imagine a species could be entirely, petrified for more than 3 years without all of their infrastructure basically just crumbling into dust and debris. I mean, also, let's not forget, nuclear power plants, other things would basically go critical and self-destruct, causing a whole lot of damage there. So, yeah, 3 years might have actually been too much. Maybe like 3 weeks, 3 months. Maybe that's more what the Wyman were expecting from humanity. I'm actually not sure about that, but let me know what you think down below. Anyway, though, then, just the Wyman were starting to give up hope. They realized, wait a minute, somebody just activated Medusa via radio waves. They're smart. They can figure this out. Let's show them again how this can be done. Let's petrify all of them all over again because, yeah, the Medusas are kind of dumb. They're kind of dumb. They just have such a poor understanding of humanity. It's actually ridiculous. They really thought that humanity just probably broke free of the stone, within, like I said, a few short months, a few short years. And then they just kind of forgot about it. They forgot what Medusas were capable of doing. So they just keep trying to do it over and over again to remind them, to show them, hey, watch us. Look at us. Look at what we can do. Don't you want this power for yourselves? Don't you want to become immortal? And when humanity just kept rejecting them over and over again, refusing the gift of petrification, they started wondering, hey, do you want to die? Do you need to, talk about something here? Is your entire species suicidal? Because, yeah, that would really get in the way of our plans here. Oh, God, poor Medusas. They were just so utterly and completely confused by humanity. Anyway, though, once that one lone Medusa was put in the vacuum chamber, once it was no longer exposed to the poison of oxygen, it was able to restore some of its old powers and was able to start moving again. Good for it! And then it activated itself once again to try and remind humanity of exactly what it was capable of doing, and humanity just really, really didn't get the message. That makes sense, though. We are really, really dumb. Though actually, if Senku had put the Medusa in the vacuum chamber and hadn't made it, radio sealed essentially, maybe once it was, free of the oxygen, this Medusa would have been able to talk to them and tell them, hey, listen up, this is what's going on here, we're trying to save you. I mean, it's not great at communication, but I think once it's no longer exposed to oxygen, it would be able to convey its meaning to Senku and the rest of them, and they wouldn't have had to go all the way up to the freaking goddamn moon. Oh, we also get a bit more information about when exactly the Medusas landed on the moon. Apparently it was, relatively recently, or at least relative to when Senku was first petrified, because they got there after the moon landing. They landed there, they saw the lunar rover, the flag, and they're like, hey, the species on this planet are pretty smart. They managed to make it all the way up to the moon. They should be able to handle the Medusas no problem. And then, the plan is basically to petrify the planet. Everybody wake up in a few weeks, a few months, a few years, and they'd all be excited, be like, let's figure out the Medusas, let's worship them, let's serve them, let's repair them over and over again. And, that didn't work out well for them at all. Instead, humanity stayed petrified for 3,000 years, and I guess Medusas just thought that everyone had woken up and then just stopped using radio waves for some reason. Like in just the few short years they were petrified, they somehow managed to lose all of their technology and start over again from scratch. And then, when they heard the frequencies coming from Treasure Island, they're like, hey, there's people down there. Let's send some Medusas to show them the way, show them the power we have. And that led to a civil war, which resulted in almost all the Medusas being smashed. Oh, that's definitely not what they were hoping for. And then, once again, they started losing hope. And then Senku woke up and managed to start shooting out some intentional radio waves that they were able to pick up on and realize, hey, humanity is in fact smart. They aren't actually idiots. Okay, we are actually kind of idiots, but we are smart enough to be able to make radio waves. And that's all the Y-Men really needed. So they started trying again to petrify humanity, show them the power of the petrification beams so that humanity would decide to serve them, to work for the Medusas, to repair and replace them, and allow the process of colonization to start all over again. And then Senku decides to have a little one-on-one conversation with Medusa, which it allows by basically putting Senku in a giant cage made of Medusas, which is, honestly kind of beautiful. It is absolutely freaking amazing. Seriously, Boichi is such a skilled artist. I freaking love his work here. And the next page, when Senku's actually inside of it, standing on a pile of Medusas, standing on a literal floating platform. Oh my god, that was amazing. That was so amazing. And just so beyond next level. Anyway, though, as a result of being inside a cage of Medusas, no radio signals can get in or out, meaning that whatever Senku negotiates here, no one on Earth will be able to know about it, which is concerning. It is honestly terrifyingly concerning. I mean, this definitely does feel like Senku might be going down the whole self-sacrifice route. Like, okay, listen up, I'm gonna stay here on the moon as your backup, as your insurance, as your hostage, and once humanity reaches the point where they can mass-produce Medusas, where they can mass-produce the batteries to keep you alive, then you can return me to Earth. And if anything happens to humanity between now and then, if they get wiped out, if they forget about science, if they do anything like that, then, you can wake me up and I'll go back down there. I will go save everyone. I will find a way to restart humanity again for the second, third time. Yeah, I could see that. I really could see that. It would actually align with theory I had when Senku first announced that he was going to the moon on a one-way rocket. My theory back then was that Senku would do that. He, Kawaku, Stanley, they would all go to the moon. I said Stanley back then. And they would petrify themselves, and then they would stay there for 10, 20, 30, 50 years. And when they woke up again, it would be because Chrome had managed to build a two-way rocket. He managed to get people to the moon, brought Senku back down, and woke him up to see the world he had created, the world he had built, the new age of science that Chrome was now leading, all for the sake of retrieving his mentor, his companion, his friend, Senku. And I could see that. I really could see it happening now. I could see Senku, getting petrified and just staying on the moon for the next 50 years. And then once humanity finally reaches the point where they can start mass manufacturing Medusas, then the Medusas will bring Senku back down to Earth. They will allow him to reunite with all his friends, his family, his loved ones. Huzzah! Even though they'd all be just crazy, crazy old by that point. I mean, that would probably be a fairly bummer ending, but Senku would just be so excited to be in the new scientific age with everyone. I would like to see that. I would like to see that. And oh god, him reuniting with Kohaku now that she's like 60. I'm sure he'd say, oh, you're still the same old lioness, something like that. Though Senku, like I said before, Senku said many times he's not the self-sacrificing type, so maybe that's not his plan. Maybe instead he's just planning on lying to all of humanity about something, lying to him about the deal he's going to make with Medusas, whatever that might be. I mean, I'm not sure. He decided to keep this a secret from everyone, not just people back down Earth, but even Kohaku and Stanley. This is something only he and Medusas can know about, so yeah, I'm not sure what else he might have planned here. I mean, Senku did say, lend us your bodies, which... interesting. What exactly did he mean by that? Is he actually planning on using the Medusas, the bodies themselves, for some sort of scientific revolution, new scientific age? I mean, I guess he could use Medusas to basically control satellites to keep them, in proper orbit around the Earth. That could definitely be helpful, but that wouldn't really, change the course of science all that much right now. Then again, Senku doesn't actually understand how these things work, at all. He has no idea how it is they're floating, how they're flying, how they're defying gravity. And being able to defy gravity would, definitely change the scientific age. I mean, maybe Senku's saying, I want to, examine you, dissect you, learn from you, and basically figure out how you function so that way I can replicate you. So that way, everybody down Earth can have hoverboards! Huzzah! Not sure about that. I'm honestly not sure about that, but please let me know down below. How many other species do you think the Y-Men have colonized before Earth? What exactly do you think was the time frame for them to wake up? Do you think it was 3 years? Do you think it was 3 weeks? Do you think it was 300 years? I mean, like I said before, it really does seem like if it was more than 3 years and the infrastructure of those worlds would break down so badly, it'd basically be like they were starting over from scratch. What kind of deal is Senku going to negotiate with the Y-Man, and why exactly did he have to keep his secret? Why exactly is he refusing to let anyone else on Earth or on the moon know about it? What's he up to here? I'm concerned. I'm definitely concerned. But please leave all down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. See you in the next video. And until then, peace!